This is Mountain Vision. Welcome to the Blue Devils Football Coaches Show. Your home for all things Manchester High School football. With head coach Evan Huckstetler and your host, J.J. Hush.
Hello and welcome to the Manchester Football Coaches Show. I'm your host, J.J. Hush, with Coach Evan Huckstetler. But first, let's talk about the regular season. The Manchester Blue Devils go 7-3 on the year, finishing the region with a second-place finish after beating the Temple team 41-13 last week. Coach, thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you.
So you guys go in as the number 2 seed. You guys host Washington Wilkes coming up on Friday night. Just talk a little bit about being in the playoffs for your first season as head coach.
It's very exciting. Today, I filled out the mandatory contracts that you guys sent off to the Georgia High School Association and Washington Wilkes, and it's the first time doing that, and it tied me into the reason I do this is to help the student athletes and mold the young men. But it's very special to be in the playoffs and being under my father for all those years, and he's been a part of a lot of playoff games. And I also talked to Coach Oglesby in class today. I went to him, and he actually helped me fill out the contract. So it's a special bond between coaches, and I feel special being here at Manchester High School. They got a rich tradition, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
You talk about all season, we've talked about the sophomores stepping up and the freshmen that have to come in and play. And these guys, it's going to be their first playoff appearance for those guys. And even the older guys, the juniors and seniors, it's definitely got to be a treat for those guys to prepare for a playoff game.
It is. That's one of the things we talked to the team about today. We're kind of inexperienced going into this game. And on the flip side of that, Washington Wilkes, their record may not show it, but they're a very experienced team going into the playoffs. I know we played them in 2002 at Bowden in 2013, and they had a deep run last year in the playoffs, and they're a very veteran team when it comes to making the playoffs.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the Temple game. You guys, you got out early on those guys. Your defense, in fact, caused a turnover on the first drive of the game. Just it looked like a good overall effort from the team on Friday night.
Defensively, I thought the last 2 weeks our defense is a lot more physical than they were in the earlier in the year, and obviously the kids are getting better, but they're enjoying playing defense a lot more. They're running to the ball, and they're making contact. They're making very good contact right now.
The one thing I noticed just off the film that popped off for me was the defensive line. They look like that they established their presence pretty early in that ball game. It seemed like they were getting after it against that run game.
Yeah, they're coming off the ball. They're coming off the ball low, and they're being physical about it. They're shedding their blocks, and they're running to the football. I thought overall this past Friday night, our front four ran to the ball better than they have in the past couple of games, and obviously they're getting better, getting more physical. It helps out that we had an offensive guard to come back, and we're able to rest when our defensive tackles. Right now, the 4 defensive linemen are not playing offense, or at least not playing offense in a big role. So when we're on the offense, they're on the bench getting water, getting Gatorade, and getting ready for the next series. So the defensive line, they're coming in fresh. They're getting better in practice each week. And some of the sophomores, they're not sophomores anymore. They got 10 games under their belt, and they got to play like juniors.
You know, that's a big thing for a school that's not really big in size at all, especially, of course, everybody in 2A is not going to be bigger, but there are differentials in those schools. The guys that can sit out and not have to play both ways is a huge asset for you guys.
Yes, and we've benefited from it the last couple of weeks.
Talk a little bit about your linebacker play. I know that Ferguson gets a lot of the attention, and Brown as well. I see Brown actually had a sack early in the ball game as well. It seems like those two guys are the leaders, but just talk about them as a whole, as a crew in that linebacker spot.
Well, they're getting better. They're getting better with their keys, and obviously their keys will change week to week. Sometimes we read the guard, sometimes we read the fullback in some situations, but they're getting better. They're getting more comfortable, and in retrospect with how they're playing. The better the defensive line plays, the better the linebackers are playing. But I'm enjoying watching them. I'm enjoying to see Brown running to the ball. He's making some plays, and Ferguson's actually making some really good contact for us making the tackles.
And the thing was, I saw that Temple did, they run mostly have a wing tee or that kind of style anyway, and they were throwing the ball a lot into those lanes. So how's it different from a linebacker's perspective when you're so used to coming up on a run in that offense and having to keep those keys for the pass plays?
Well, obviously, first thing is first, you got to do your job. But then after they do their job, we always teach run to the football, and they got to get as middle linebackers. They drop in the hook zone, and once they see the ball, they run to it. The outside linebackers, they read the end man on the line of scrimmage. Either it's the wing back or the offensive tackle. If the tackle raises up and pass protects, he's got to get in the flats. If he comes off the ball down blocks, he's coming to protect the run. So obviously, at the linebacker spot, they do their job, they do their keys, and they get to the ball.
So these guys, for Temple, they actually had a couple good athletes. I think number 4, I can't quite remember his name right now, but he was a good running back. It seemed like he was fighting to the inch, the tooth and nail to get down the field and gave you guys some problems tackling him. But once you got him on the ground, it seemed like they were doing a good job. But Washington Wilkes coming up, they're going to have athletes like that. So how important is it to see these athletes come in and work on those tackling drills?
Well, I think that our schedule has been a benefit to us defensively. We have faced some really good running backs this year. I know the kid from Taylor County is very special. Obviously, Charlton County had a couple good running backs. Columbus, they're actually playing tonight for a mini playoff game. They had a couple good running backs. And in Sarah region, her county had the Barron kid, the coach's son, was a good running back. And Bowden had a couple good running backs. So I think our region has prepared us for this type of playoff game. Hopefully we can have a good showing.
The secondary for you guys, it seems like they thrive in the pass offense. And it seemed like, when they took a shot deep early, the guys took care of it. They were 1-for-1 on turnovers when they threw it out there. So it seemed like the defensive secondary is really just, they're welcome to the pass game.
Yeah, again, it goes back to the secondary coach. Coach Doddridge's done an outstanding job with our back end of the defense, and the kids have bought into what we're trying to teach them, and they're making the plays. I think Temple had a couple of plays where they threw the slant and got inside of us, but we're concerned on film. They threw it deep more often than they threw it underneath, so that's one of the things, mismatch, and we were prepared to stop the deep, and they went underneath us. But overall, I think we did a really, really good job in the back end.
Who's some of the guys, I know that, DeMarcus Addy makes a lot of plays back there, but who's one of those guys that you see that's grown a lot in that secondary role for you guys?
I think all of them has a unit. It's hard to pick out one guy because they all play well. In some games, one guy would have more interceptions than the other guy. But Little Bell, he's in the middle, and in our defense, the safety has to make the calls in the pass coverages. We have about 4 or 5 different coverages that we're trying to incorporate each week, and it may be a simple man-to-man, or we may play quarters or play zone to one side and man to the other, and we can play the cover 3 look as well. But he's responsible for recognizing the formation and making the call. So, a lot was on his shoulders early in the year. Not only was he a sophomore, he was a sophomore learning a whole new defense. And so he's really matured and come into our system very well.
Talk about special teams a little bit. I know you guys had a punt return that was called back after a great play by DeMarcus Addy. But I saw some guys hustling out there, making some good plays and opening up some room for them. It seems like that they're finally getting it on the special teams side.
Yeah, our guys were actually headhunting Friday night, and that's a good thing. I know the punt return, we got some guys that were throwing blocks, and at the time we picked the interception off, a couple of our guys were hunting heads to block it. Nothing dirty, but they're just looking for contact, and they enjoyed contact, and they're making some pretty good blocks. I was really impressed with our kickoff coverage this past week. As a unit, we're getting down the field a lot better than we did, say, week 5 before.
Yeah, you said last week you were talking about you finally found a group of guys that gelled together to get down there and make plays.
Yes, and they're still doing it, and they're going to get better each time we kick off. It's almost like a practice on Friday night. We do it again, then we'll work on it during the week. Not quite as much because our kids take on so much playing offense and defense, but they're getting better each time we kick the ball off.
We'll be back with more with Coach Hochstetler on the Manchester Football Coaches Show.
Time for a new mattress? Wilson's Fine Furniture in Manchester has a great selection. From twin size to king size, Wilson's has it. In fact, Wilson's Fine Furniture is your hometown mattress outlet with name brands like Sealy, Simmons, Serta, and more, all at competitive prices. Wilson's also carries a full line of living room sets from Ashley Furniture. Save big now with 30% off all in-stock living room sets. Pay cash and save even more. And don't forget appliances, your hometown mattress outlet. Wilson's Fine Furniture, Main Street in Manchester.
Here at Sun Fashions, we have a variety of all your needs, from half wigs to whole wigs, from lace front wigs to ponytails. We also carry your beauty supply needs. We have your latest fashion in jewelry, handbags, clothes, and shoes. So whenever you're in town and you want to shop around, make it your passion to come to Sun Fashion.
Manchester Farm, Garden, and Hardware is your fall headquarters. Carhartt Clothing, the right gear for any job in comfort. Available for men, women, and children. Fall flowers and cool weather vegetables, along with an array of home decor for fall and the upcoming holiday season. Fall also means hunting season, rifles, handguns, and more to make sure you're ready to bring down the big one. Don't forget the great selection of Georgia boots. It's all at Manchester Farm, Garden, and Hardware.
Welcome back to the Manchester Football Coaches Show. So, Coach, you guys, anytime you score 41 points, I think that people can say you had a successful offensive outing. But talk a little bit about the success you guys had with your offense and the wing tee.
Well, first of all, I think we had a pretty good night overall. It's one of those situations early in the game when we came out, Temple was in a different look that we prepared the team for. And after the dust kind of settled down, we were able to just follow our rules and do our job. And I was proud of our team. We didn't panic. We didn't push the panic button. We just kept on doing what we needed to be done. And obviously going to the game like that, you try to put certain players in other situations that I normally wouldn't put them in a big-time game. I know we got inside the 5 one time. We threw it a couple of times. And normally I would probably try to pound that out and run the ball down the throat. But other than that, I'm very proud of our offensive effort.
Now, we talk about the offensive line a lot. You know, of course, they have the same rules. But I noticed that Temple, at the beginning of the ball game, they're bringing about 7 guys on the line of scrimmage and really giving you guys a different look than y'all seen most of the year. Talk a little bit about that and the adjustments that need to be made when you see something like that.
Well, the adjustments is basically just doing what we do. I mean, obviously, as a play caller and a head coach, I'm responsible for the adjustment as far as if we can't do something. Either we're doing it wrong or they just try to take that away from us. But as a play caller, sometimes when they come out in the different defense, you just got to go with the flow. And the next series, we try to start picking at a certain situation. But it's pretty difficult sometimes. Obviously, we run the jet and the buck, and we run several different type of plays. And some teams, they want to take 1 or 2 away, but they cannot take up the whole system away. So that we try to find what they're giving us and just give them what they're taking away from us. So.
Yeah, I think that's the key to any offense is try to find some loopholes in the system and get as much as you can. You guys seem like you got through that barrier pretty quick and you found the loopholes, and you had running backs really break out and have good nights.
Yeah, we had some good nights at the running back position. I know. I think everybody scored. I know Little Bell scored. Anthony scored as well. I know both Gamble scored. So it was a pretty good night overall. And on the flip side of that, they did a good job blocking for each other. I know a lot of people want to look how many carries they have or yards, but I think we're getting better in the other departments as well as far as the blocking.
Yeah, we've talked about that. You know, you guys are more dangerous when you don't focus on one guy and you have other guys come out and do their part. Help me, help you kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, it's a team effort, and the kids realize that. There's no fussing at practice about who's getting what. I think they know their roles. And as a matter of fact, I think they understand now that even though they may not have a good night week 8, it may come week 9 or week 10, they may have a good night. So they're gonna take what the defense gives them, and they understand the system.
You said that you got an offensive guard back for you guys this week, and you got him in the ball game and kind of got him some reps. How important is that heading towards the playoffs to get kids back in after injuries?
Well, anytime you have a starter that goes down, it kind of hurts, especially in small ball, because you start moving people around. Sometimes a starter is worth 3 or 4 positions because he's playing special teams. Then you have to move somebody to his spot. Then you move somebody else to the other person's spot. So it's difficult in small ball for us if somebody goes down. So obviously getting him back, it freshens up the defensive line more. And he's a smart kid. His name's Owens, and he's coming along very well.
Talk about Garrett Brown a little bit, because I know the quarterback, we talked about it. His job is to get the running backs the ball most of the time, but he seems like a kid that, we talked about his arm strength, and he's a baseball player. He can throw it down the field, but it seems like that overall mentally he's just taking over the offense and kind of let it run.
Well, he understands the offense very well. That he's, if he asks a question in practice, it's a question with purpose. It has some reasoning behind the question, and he soaks in the information we're giving him, and he understands it. He had a really good game Friday night. I know we didn't have a lot of yards passing, but he made some really good throws. We threw the out route to Preacher Man one time. It's a good throw. And Garrett threw a touchdown pass to Preacher on the fade, which one of those things you tell him throw it in the back end of the end zone. He threw it to the spot, and Preacher went up for it. So some quarterbacks, they try to make the perfect throw. You don't have to do that. You just allow your playmakers to make the plays, and he's doing an outstanding job.
Yeah, it seems like we have a lot of guys that are opening up as playmakers. At the beginning of the year, I think DeMarcus was separating himself early, getting some early touchdowns against teams like Charlton and early in the year. But it seems like that DeMarcus is now joined with a lot of guys, and you can't just focus on him now. You got to focus on everybody on that offense.
Without a doubt. I mean, anytime you have to focus on more than one playmaker, it benefits the offense.
So talk a little bit about the offensive line again. I think this is so important that these guys get more recognition than they do. There's a lot on offensive line's plates. A lot of people think that they just go up and you put a hand on somebody, but really that's not the case. A lot of stuff goes
especially in our system, we still fire off the ball. We got to get your head across and drive your feet, and a lot of offensive now are going to that zone scheme, but we don't do that. We're a wing T team. Our kids are playing better each week. I was telling coaching staff after practice today, I was very impressed. One time I ran fullback trap, and the play side guard is rule is first backer inside. And with our rule as a backside guard is kick the first person on and pass the play side guard. And so our play side guard went inside to go to the backer, but the defensive tackle stunned it through his inside gap. And so that guy crossed his face, he washed him down, and the backer came to the B gap, and we trapped the backer. And it's one of those things that they just follow the rules. I mean, we do the same thing over and over and over. We don't hit the panic button, and if they follow the rules, they're doing a good job. So that's a proud moment as a coach, because I know without a shadow of a doubt, games 1 through 4, we don't make that play. And that play's busted in the backfield, but we were able to, I think we got 12 to 15 yards on the play, and it was an outstanding play.
It's definitely a difference when you can see the growth in those guys down the line throughout the season. If there was one thing you could point out on Friday night that you would like to get better at, there always is. There's always never a perfect game. What would it be?
The penalties hurting us a little bit. I know we had a couple of procedure calls that we didn't do. I think week 5 through 8 were really good in the procedure part of the offense, and unfortunately, the last couple of games, I don't know if it's because of competition or lack of focus. When the game's 28-0 or 35-0, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot.
We'll be back with a preview of Washington Wilkes when we return on the Manchester Football Coaches Show.
Manchester Farm, Garden, and Hardware is your fall headquarters. Carhartt Clothing, the right gear for any job in comfort. Available for men, women, and children. Fall flowers and cool weather vegetables, along with an array of home decor for fall and the upcoming holiday season. Fall also means hunting season, rifles, handguns, and more to make sure you're ready to bring down the big one. Don't forget the great selection of Georgia boots. It's all at Manchester Farm, Garden, and Hardware.
Here at Sun Fashions, we have a variety of all your needs, from half wigs to whole wigs, from lace front wigs to ponytails. We also carry your beauty supply needs. We have your latest fashion in jewelry, handbags, clothes, and shoes. So whenever you're in town and you want to shop around, make it your passion to come to Sun Fashion.
Time for a new mattress? Wilson's Fine Furniture in Manchester has a great selection. From twin size to king size, Wilson's has it. In fact, Wilson's Fine Furniture is your hometown mattress outlet with name brands like Sealy, Simmons, Serta, and more, all at competitive prices. Wilson's also carries a full line of living room sets from Ashley Furniture. Save big now with 30% off all in-stock living room sets. Pay cash and save even more. And don't forget appliances, your hometown mattress outlet. Wilson's Fine Furniture, Main Street in Manchester.
Welcome back to the Manchester Football Coaches Show. So, Coach, you guys lock up the 2 seed, which was really important for you guys because you get to come home, and you guys are, of course, unblemished on home, knock on wood, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you face a team like I think you mentioned earlier, Washington Wilkes is one of those teams that their record doesn't show a lot of success this year, but historically that's a team that you have to worry about.
Yeah, it's obviously Washington Wilkes, their premier football program in the state of Georgia, just like Manchester. They have a rich history. They also have a history here recently as far as going to the playoffs. I know their senior class now as freshmen, they have been to the playoffs every single year, and they have made a couple quarterfinals appearances as well. I know as we played them 2012 and 2013. And 12 they beat our brains in. In 2013 we kind of returned the favor when this coaching staff was at Bowden. But we know them. Looking on film, they look like Washington Wilkes that I have seen in the past. Our kids don't know them as well, but I think the coaching staff, just looking on film, they see Bowden's system, and we see what they have been doing in the past as well. As far as their record goes, I know they have been beaten by Lincoln County, Jefferson County, Rayburn County, Union County. Those are 4 really good football teams. So they have not been beaten by anybody that's not good. Their games that they've been beaten in, they're being in the games. But we're going to have our hands full Friday night.
Yeah, they look like a load, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They like to, as you said, they're kind of one of those teams that they're multidimensional. They can do whatever they need to when they feel like it. They like to spread it out, but they also like to bring it in tight.
Yeah, obviously they're a gun team. The QBs, he's about 6'4". He can make any throw that a good high school quarterback needs to make. He can throw it 55, 60 yards down the field, and he can throw the ball in the flats. Anytime it feels like it's a good high school quarterback. He's also a runner at the quarterback position. He's so tall and he's got a good stride. It seems like he's at 10 yards in 3 steps, and that's pretty quick. But it's unique because they can be in the 2 tots, invert wishbone shotgun look, and the next play they're 4 or 5 wides.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a huge thing, especially when you're not used to seeing a lot of teams that would do multiple formations and stuff like that, especially with a playoff game because coming in it's like, hey, we lose, we go home. There's no more season. So it's one of those things that if you're not aligned correctly on just one play, it can make a huge difference in the ball game.
Oh, without a doubt. I had an offensive coordinator that I played for in high school. He used to tell us 5 plays make a difference in each game, especially the big games. You never know when the 5 plays are going to occur throughout the game. There's usually around 100, 120 plays throughout the game, but there's going to be 5 that either going to break your back or break your opponent's back, and you got to play every play.
So, yeah, their statistics show that it's almost an even kill with their run and their pass game, maybe a little more with their pass game, but it seems like that they do a good job of mixing it up.
They do an outstanding job, and it's a compliment to the skill players and the play caller. He understands they got more than one skill player. The quarterback runs it. They also have a running back by the number 28. He is very physical. He punishes the tacklers. If you tackle him, you're probably going to feel that tackle. So it's because somebody makes a tackle does not mean that they won that play. I mean, he beats up on the defense pretty good. And they got players on the outside as well that the quarterback likes to stretch the field vertically, and they'll throw the underneath game without the hits on the slants and the outs. They have it all.
Yeah, and on defensive side of the ball, of course, they adjust to you guys in the wing T, but they've played a lot of teams that can put up a lot of points in Lincoln County and Raven County. and yet they've held some of these teams to like 28 points or fewer.
Yeah.
It seems like their defense is actually a pretty strong defense.
Their defense is a very strong defense. They're off front. They're a 34 team, or you can call it 50. Some of the old coaches will say 50, and that's a younger generation would say a 3-4, but it's the same difference. But they don't sit in the vanilla 3-4 throughout the game. They're going to move the tackles, move the nose man. He may shade to the strong side. Then he may shade to the quick side. Their defensive tackles or ends, whatever you want to call them, they may be in the 4 technique where they're head up. Then one play they're in a 4-eye technique where it's inside. Then the play after that, then they may be in the 5. And for some people, that little adjustment may not matter, but as a wing T, it matters tremendously. So that's why we have to get up to the line of scrimmage and make our calls and just do our job. And as a coaching staff, we're responsible this week. When we run team offense, we have to show them all the looks. We can't just run a particular play on Tuesday against a vanilla 3-4, then do the same thing the next day. We got to change it up a little bit, and we may make a mistake Tuesday and Wednesday, but that's why we practice. We're going to correct the mistakes during Tuesday and Wednesday, and hopefully have a good game Friday.
Hosting a playoff game at home, you can't underestimate the value of that coming into it. And I know that you guys are looking forward to Manchester, the faithful, to come out and to be loud and ready to go for this game. What's it going to be like to be in a playoff atmosphere this weekend?
Well, it's just special. I mean, Manchester has such a rich tradition for us, being in the playoffs and winning championships. And I tell you what, the homecoming night and senior night, we felt the energy from the crowd, and the players appreciate that, and as the coaching staff, we appreciate it as well. That needs to continue. I know sometimes the playoff tickets, the value of the tickets go up each round, but for the first round, they're only $8, and that's the same as they were in the regular season, so that's a pretty good deal. In the second round, they go to $10, but that's one of the things that are out of our control. The Georgia High School Association dictates that, but it's going to be special. We play better at home. Some teams I have coached under play better on the road, but you take whichever personality the team gives you. We cannot change the personality. The teenagers, sometimes they set in their own ways, but I'm proud of the fact that we put ourselves in a position to be at home. We play better at home, so hopefully it'll be a good night.
Yeah. I know your coaching staff is fired up and ready to be coaching another game in the playoffs and stuff like that. They're used to that tradition at Bowden. Now that you've brought it here to Manchester, talk about your coaching staff and this week coming up, how they're excited to prepare for this game.
Well, we're fortunate enough, the coaching staff, we understand the seriousness of it. We also understand that in reality, we treat this as another game. We prepare the same. We go through practice the same. We don't change anything. We don't go way up here one week and down here the next week. We coach the same each week. And obviously, I think if we show that every game's important, that the kids buy into that. But we're going to prepare for Washington Wilkes just like we prepared for the Bremens and the Bowdens, the Taylor Counties, and the other opponents that we have played this year. And the kids understand it's a do-or-die situation. But as the coaching staff, we've been a part of a lot of playoff games. I know Coach Turner himself, Coach at Bowden, some playoff games. Obviously, my dad and myself, and Coach Doctor was at Central when they won the region championship the last 2 years.
I think that was pretty important what you just said earlier about not ranking one game higher than another in preparation. You guys you're on championship level every week.
Yeah, we're going to do what we do every week. I would hate to come in one week and all of a sudden we're in practice yelling and hopping and jumping around. I just think that throws the kids off. We're teachers. That's our classroom. We go out and teach what we try to show the kids what the other team's going to do. We teach what we do and prepare for the game.
7:30 Friday night here at Memorial Stadium in Manchester. Coach, good luck to you guys this weekend.
Thank you.
That's going to wrap up this edition of the Manchester Football Coaches Show. Make sure you tune in each week for the lowdown on all the Blue Devil football news.
Thank you for watching the Blue Devils Football Coaches Show. Brought to you by Manchester Farm, Garden and Hardware and JT Signs. Join Coach Huck Stetler and your host J.J. Hush next week as they continue to review and preview all the Blue Devils football games right here on Mountain Vision. This is Mountain Vision.